What's going on, everybody? Welcome in Fantasy Alarm TV. I'm your host, Howard Bender. Welcome to 3-Point Play. You guys have seen this around now. It's a one-on-one debate between Fantasy Alarm analysts. So far, so good for me. My record looks pretty clean right now. Now I think I'm stepping up to one of the big boys, one of the heavy hitters. No shame to the guys before him. But come on, managing editor John Impemba here. John, what's going on, man? Welcome in. I knew you were going with the some sort of Boston gear today. I had to counter you with the Yankee cap.
No, I mean, you know, Howard, like you said, you got to work your way up. This is like in a video game. You know, you work your way up the boss fights. You get the easy guys, you win, you move up. Well, now you have me. So, I'm here to take you down a notch a little bit and get a win for, the rest of the guys here.
Any chance you could actually answer the question of whether or not you're Bald Bull or Glass Joe?
No.
See, there you go. There's the old man Punch-Out reference. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. What was the name of the characters there? All right. In any event, for those of you just joining this show here, let me tell you what it is. We debate 3 topics around sports, both fantasy and reality. The only rule is that you got to make 3 valid points to support your side of the argument. Obviously, we'll be on opposite sides here. John, are you ready to go?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Well, first one we're going to talk about here, something we constantly deal with in fantasy baseball, the decision of whether or not chasing saves on the waiver wire or investing heavily into a closer is the right move here. The whole world seems split on that 50-50. Yet every year it comes a debate where people are telling you that you're wrong and you shouldn't be doing it. So curious to you, what side of the argument are you on?
Yeah, I personally never pay up for saves. I understand people who do it if they're in non-traditional standard leagues. But if you're in a standard league format, which is just pretty much saves, maybe there's whip involved if you're in, a regular 5x5, for me, it just doesn't make sense to waste that high of a draft pick on a guy that you can pick up off waivers. Every year we see guys lose their closer's job. People we think that have safe jobs end up losing their job. And you go ahead and pick people up off waivers. Guys who weren't drafted. Shane Green right now, second in the league in saves with 19. He was going down like the 300, 400s of ADPs right now. Most leagues, standard leagues, he didn't get drafted. You can pick him up off waivers, and he was one of the leading save getters. So for me, it doesn't make sense to pay up for that when there's so much turnover at that position right now. The league leader in saves, Kirby Yates, he was the 11th ranked closer going off in ADPs. People who spend up on Edwin Diaz, Blake Trinan, like those haven't panned out. Last month, Edwin Diaz had over 5 ERA, he had 2 blown saves, 2 losses. That's not helping your peripheral stats. For me, in standard leagues, it just doesn't make sense when there are guys on the waiver wire that can pick up the slack.
Okay, solid, valid points all around. But I got to tell you, man, I think you're wrong. I'm on the other side of this argument here. I've done this before, chasing saves, playing the waiver wire, doing all that. It's not pleasant. And I'll tell you what, though, it's a year-to-year thing. People just automatically assume that, well, it's a volatile position. We're going to get a lot of turnover. If you actually look at the closers right now, at least more than half of them are the same guy who we said coming into the season we're going to have the job. When you have some shared situations like we see in Minnesota, where you've got Rogers and you've got Parker there, we assumed that it was going to be those guys coming in, or so it was Trevor May involved in some sort of a committee. So the guys we all knew and we were there. So to me, there really hasn't been a whole lot of turnover at this position, or at least not as much as everybody thought. There's really not a whole lot to be chasing on the waiver wire. What have been the big names? So far, Luke Jackson seems to be the big name as far as a guy who's going to be getting saves regularly. Scott Oberg, but he's actually now losing his job. So for me, I think that, it's the number of guys who turn over really kind of fluctuates a bunch for me. Number 2, it's a waste of fab. It's a total waste of fab because all you're doing is sitting there and you're throwing your fab budget instead of holding fab for quality hitters or the next young arm that's going to be called up. What are you doing? You're throwing in money on who the next speculative closer is while Josh Hader takes a 2-week absence, or something like that. You're sitting here and you're just throwing money at guys haphazardly, hoping that this guy is going to stick. I mean, you see it so much, and then all of a sudden when it's time to grab a good quality guy, Well, you know what? Hey, you're sixth in the saves category, and you're like halfway down your budget. Number three, listen, I'll say it. You look at the top closers out there. Yeah, I get it. Edwin Diaz's numbers don't look great, but overall, things balance out for these guys. He throws a couple innings, has a hot month. Guess what? That ERA is like suddenly at like a 2.8 instead of a 5 something. And we see it constantly with these guys. These are guys who, the guys who have had those moments, like Edwin Diaz, phenomenal job security. He's not losing that job at all. So, yeah, you know what? You get an augment, a supplement and strikeouts, and eventually, he's going to throw you, 66 innings across the season here, and that ERA will be down at like a 2 something, and that's going to do huge things for you.
I mean, the thing is, they have to pitch. They have to pitch enough, like you said. If they're only in the getting the games once or twice a week, if they're on a bad team, or they're not getting one of those games ends up being a blown save, well, then they're blowing up the rest of your stats, right? If they're giving up 4 runs in an inning, that's killing your weekly ERA. For me, I think it's just not worth the investment spending up higher ADP picks on guys that you could use in other positions.
Well, are you talking head-to-head? If you're talking your weekly ERA and you're talking head-to-head, then there's a big difference between investing in a closer in a head-to-head league versus investing in a closer in a roto league.
We didn't really specify, I guess, league standards either, because, I mean, if we're in leagues that count K per 9, which are starting to get popular over strikeouts, other sabermetric stats which favor closers, saves plus holds, things where you can pay up now. Back in the day, you go like Dellin Betances, spending up on a guy who's not really a closer, but he's a relief pitcher that's going to dominate holds and get you other peripheral stats. So paying up for relievers for me was just something I never really did. But I guess again, it depends on leagues. So
yeah, I'm going to have to go with the depends on league format there. We can agree to disagree. Let's move on to the second topic. Let's talk NFL. Let's talk rookie running backs. Josh Jacobs is the number 1 pick in every rookie draft. Everybody wants him. Lead back for the Raiders. This is the guy who is expected to actually be the bell cow. Question is out of the rest of this rookie class, we've got a number of names here between, David Montgomery and Miles Saunders. You've got Devin Singletary. You've got some of the backups like Alexander Madison in Minnesota. You've also got, and you also got that guy too.
Damian Harris in New England?
No, I definitely did not mean Damian Harris in New England. Yet another reason never to trust a New England running back in fantasy. But here we go. So who's the number 2 running back right now? And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to start this one off here. And I'm going to go with Miles Saunders. Like, I know that, I love David Montgomery. I love Devin Singletary. I have very little faith in LaShawn McCoy and Frank Gore both lasting as the lead back in Buffalo. I mean, that's a weird situation there for me. But nevertheless, I'm going with Miles Saunders because I think he's the type of back that Doug Peterson needs and wants. I feel like he's the type of guy who can go between the tackles, who can also catch a pass on the outside. I'm not, they're going to use Jordan Howard because they brought Jordan Howard in to do that, and they're going to just kind of pound the middle with him. But for me, Miles Saunders is already going to have like a nice role carved out for him at the least. Be that third down back over there in Philadelphia with the yes, obvious pressure on him, but the coach is looking for him to succeed, looking to give him reasons to play him. So right there, an immediate role. Number 2 is that I don't have faith in Jordan Howard at all. I really don't. I've always been a huge Jordan Howard fan. You know it, I know. We've talked about this constantly, but there's something about his game that these coaches don't like, and Doug Peterson comes from that same coaching tree that Matt Nagy came from. It's from the Andy Reid school, so we know what they like to do with their running backs, and Jordan Howard just doesn't fit that system. And then finally, number 3, guess what? When Carson Wentz has his annual injury and he goes down for several games, Nate Sudfeld is their starting quarterback, which means all they're going to be able to do is run the ball and dump off passes to Miles Saunders. Immediate impact. He's my number 2 right now.
Yeah, all good points there, Howard. But for me, I'm going to go with David Montgomery as the best of the next tier of rookie running backs there after Jacobs. Point number 1. The Bears didn't have a first-round pick this year. They traded it for Khalil Mack. They used their first pick in this draft, trading up to draft David Montgomery. So there's a reason they went out to acquire him, and they did it to replace Jordan Howard, who they traded. You and I were big on Jordan Howard last year, and all he had almost 1,000 yards still, 935 yards rushing, and he had 9 touchdowns, I think it was. So, I mean, it's not as if he was not used because of the offense that Matt Nagy ran. They just preferred Tariq Cohen's ability to catch the football. Point number 2, David Montgomery can catch the football. He did it in college, okay? They're going to bring him in as their bell cow back for a reason. As I said, they drafted him. They now have a reliable 3-down back that can catch the football in their offense. No way Tariq Cohen can stay as effective as he's been at his size in the NFL level. That's why they invested in David Montgomery, in my opinion, drafting a running back that could do both. And my third point was they used Kareem Hunt when Matt Nagy was the coach there in Kansas City. They drafted him in the later rounds. He did everything for them. This is what Matt Nagy's doing with his draft pick right here. He's drafting the next Kareem Hunt and David Montgomery to be the feature back in his offense. For me, David Montgomery could be a sneaky best running back in the class.
Listen, there's definitely that possibility. I understand what you're saying there. I definitely worry about how the relationship between Matt Nagy, the offense he runs, and how much he likes using Tariq Cohen. Again, Jordan Howard didn't fit that bill. And that's the concern, is that has that bond grown that strong that, David Montgomery, yes, he gets the shot. Does he get the touches that he should or that he's going to need? I mean, are you telling me that you think that eventually Tariq Cohen could get phased out?
I think a reduced role could certainly be in his future for sure. I mean, you're going to have David Montgomery as the early down back. If he can prove that those reception skills can carry over from the college level, there's not going to be as much of a need for Tariq Cohen to be that guy on the field. They could both see time on the field. We saw those packages a lot of times with Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen. But knowing that David Montgomery is able to catch the football, it would just make sense for him to be the feature part of the offense. Use Tariq Cohen in limited situations on third downs, maybe in trick plays, gadget plays, use him on special teams, split him out wide and use those receiving skills. But David Montgomery is going to be the feature back in this offense, in my opinion. And I think they're going to take advantage of all the skills they have. I think there's a reason why they drafted him this year, to fit into that offense.
You think eventually we see an ADP climb for David Montgomery and Miles Saunders just kind of either stagnates or just...
I think we're going to, once training camp hits and we start hearing all the reports coming out about how good Montgomery looks, or, maybe he flashes in some of the preseason games, I think for sure we're going to see an ADP spike here on Montgomery.
All right. Well, tell us what you guys think. You can tweet us at Fantasy Alarm, at JMPemba777. I'm at RotoBuzzGuy. Who's your number 2 rookie running back this year? Is it one of our guys? Maybe it is somebody like Devin Singletary. Maybe you think Rykel Armstead is going to eventually take over in Jacksonville. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Now, finally, the last one here. John and I have decided that here's what we're going to debate. We're going to talk about the best sports town between Boston and New York. John, would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first?
I'll go first with this, Howard. And I know, judging by my appearance and everything that I've ever done on this website, I'm sure everybody assumes I'm going to say Boston, but they're wrong. I'm going to go with New York as the best sports city to be a fan in. All right? I'm going to qualify this for this reason, to be a fan in, and here are my reasons why. Point number 1, you can cheer for 75 teams. You have 3 football teams, 2 basketball, 2 NHL, 2 baseball. You acquire, if one team doesn't do good, you just jump allegiances. You can pick and choose however you want. And if you're a sports fan of Boston, you have 4. You have the hope that one of those 4 teams can win a championship every year, and you can go celebrate a parade. If you're in New York, you just flip a coin. Maybe this year it'll be the Yankees. Maybe it'll be the Giants. Who knows? Maybe it'll be the Jets one year. You can just pick and choose. The Islanders went to the playoffs this year. Good for all those bandwagon jumpers from the Rangers. You go cheer for the Islanders. If you live in the city of New York, you can just pick and choose however you want. They even get away with saying, like, oh, my National League team is the Mets. My American League team is the Yankees. Like, it's just so many different teams that you can cheer from. Number 2, you get to carry around the arrogance of being from New York and having not won a championship in over a decade, but still talk about it as if you just did. Every time something happens where New York beats Boston, they go, 27 championships. Well, you haven't won the last one since like 2009, but as a New York fan, you get to boast that 27 championships. You get to walk around talking about that time Eli Manning beat the Patriots, as a Giants fan. So, you get to carry around that bravado of acting like you just won something when you haven't really won. So just having that self delusion is really great. And my third point, Howard, I guess if you had to choose being a sports fan in New York, it's just that oftentimes your teams are drafting early in drafts. We love talking about these young, talented prospects that are coming in the draft. If you're a fan of the New York Jets, you get the draft in the top 10 like every year. Like, how great is that? If you're a fan of the New England Patriots, you're sitting there for like 3 hours watching and waiting for the Patriots to pick. And then Bill Belichick probably trades out. With the Jets, you're one of the first 5 or 6 picks. You watch it, you flick off ESPN, you have the rest of your night to go on. So, the teams in New York getting to draft early in drafts year after year, getting those top talented players, that's great for the fan base. So, if you're going to be a fan of New York, those are just some, great reasons to do it.
Well, I hear what you're saying. They're all valid points, but I have to disagree with you here, John. I think if you want to talk about what the best sports town is, I mean, it's a no-brainer, my friend. It's a no-brainer. You got to go with the New England Patriots, buddy. You're talking about Tom Brady's team. That's what I'm talking about here, John. So here you go. Reasons Boston is a much better sports town than New York ever will be. Number one, all right, all those championships, you then get to learn how to get completely bombed by 7 a.m., and then you've got your own personal fight club to join in at the parade. So you're getting physical activity throughout your day while you're celebrating your beautiful championships. Number two, everybody says that you're wicked smart if you say something good about Tom Brady. I mean, come on. Is there a higher compliment on this earth than being called wicked smart? I don't think so. Point number three, my friend, unlimited usage of the classic Matt Damon Goodwill Hunting phrase, you like apples? I got a number. How you like them apples? You get unlimited use. You can say that anytime you want. Why? Because you're from Boston. You root for the Boston teams, and you have full claim on any Matt Damon catchphrase. I can't imagine a better way for me to spend my time in a sports town. It's Boston all the way, my friend, all the way.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, they definitely have their perks. Getting those days off from work to go to the parade, I completely see, your side of the aisle there. But yeah, I just disagree. I mean, there's just so much you can do there in New York. I'm surprised you even have that hat still. That was a bet, 3 years ago that we that we made, maybe longer. New York Jets, Patriots. So
you would not believe the spider's nest I had to dig out of this thing from the corner of this room.
You told me you burned that hat, so.
All right, well, that's going to do it for us here. Thanks for joining us at 3 Point Play. For John and Pemba, our producer, Matt Sells, I'm Howard Bender. Thanks for joining us here on Fantasy Alarm TV. We'll catch you next time.